Hi and welcome to this week's web design video blog. Today I've got two techniques to show you using Photoshop's warp tool to create some interesting drop shadow effects in Photoshop for your website layout. So first of all, I've just got a blue canvas here. If I was to select the rectangle shape tool, I'm just going to create a rectangle that could perhaps just represent part of a website grid. So I've got a central guide here just so I can make sure I position this into the center of the page. Now you're probably already familiar with the Photoshop layer styles, and you can obviously apply various drop shadows to your shapes, but these are very linear, very consistent. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit different, perhaps warped, then this is a sort of technique that allows you to do that. So let's start off by duplicating our shape, and I'm doing that by holding down Alt and then clicking and dragging on the shape. Then we're going to make this black, which will be the colour of our shadow, and we're just going to position it behind our white one. So the first of the two techniques is we're going to sort of warp the edges of the shadow so it looks like it's almost like a sheet of paper, that this white piece is like a sort of sheet of paper on the page. So to do that, position your black rectangle about 20 pixels or so below the white box, but have a bit of a play around with this because you can create obviously different sort of styles and effects to sort of suit the look that you're going for on your web page. Make sure it's positioned exactly in the center, and before we do any blurring or anything to create a shadow, we want to actually warp the shape into place. So we're going to go to Edit, Transform, and then Warp. What I'm going to do next is then look using the center blue guide that I've put in place. Click right in the center and hold it down and push the center of this warp up to the white line. Keep your eye on the guides that have been presented, the black guides that you can see there from the warp tool. If we go too far to the left or too far to the right, we won't get a symmetrical effect, which is why I've used that central blue guide to help guide me up. Okay, so I'm just going to let go of that, and then I'm going to push Enter to finish the warp. Next, I'm just going to go to Edit, Transform, and Scale, or Command and T, and holding down Alt so that both sides are adjusted equally. I'm just going to bring it in slightly from the edges. All I need to do next is go to Filter, Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. And this is just going to sort of apply a blur to the black shape to make it look much more like a shadow. So we need to rasterize the layer to be able to do that. And then setting the radius to about 4 to 6 pixels. Again, have a bit of a play around to achieve the effect that you're looking for. And we can push OK. From there, obviously tone down the shadow, or use some of the layer filters like soft light or overlay to get that blended onto your background, just like something like that. So let's delete that shape and look at a slightly different drop shadow technique using the warp tool. Again, holding down Alt and clicking my shape, I'm going to create another duplicate, and I'm going to make it black. This time, however, I'm going to position this exactly behind the white shape. So I'm going to position this right up so that you almost can't see it. With this effect, we're going to sort of have the shadow bulging out at the center of our white shape so that it almost doesn't appear at the edges. So it's almost like an inverted version of the one that we just made. So making sure that you've got your shadow layer clicked, that's just obviously hidden behind the white one. Same format, Edit, Transform, and Warp. And again, make sure you've got your guide visible. Looking right at the center at the bottom, I'm just clicking and pulling down the black layer like so. Then the same process, Filter, Gaussian Blur. The only difference with this shadow is you might want to trim away some of that excess that appears around the edges. I've just selected it with the marquee tool, cut it away, and then just using the transform tool, Command and T, you can sort of position your shadow in place. If you've done a little bit too much, you can bring it up so it's a little bit closer to the white element. And again, a bit of an opposite effect to the first one, but a really nice warped shadow on the shape. So I hope these two techniques have been helpful. Please leave any comments, questions or contributions on the supporting blog post.